Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. It's the afternoon of August 1st as I'm doing this recording today. Well, I've got some really good news for you this week. And let me just be right straight up front in the beginning. For well over a year, I've talked about these private exchanges, but I've never mentioned to you how you can choose to be involved in it. It's in the last couple of weeks that I have been slowly giving you some hints or saying it in the radio program or saying it 6 to 8 minutes into the video what you can do. I have been released now and by the funders, the people who are funding this process, to open it up to anybody who is listening to this video, listening to my radio program, or reading my newsletter. Now that's not going to be, scores of thousands of people, because each week my YouTube video, I only get maybe 10 to 12,000 views when I talk about money like this. But the issue is this week on the radio program, I'm going to discuss this whole process. Where is this money coming from? Why are they doing it this way? Why is it that these whales and these sovereigns and these large corporations are getting these huge rates? And why is it that they are being funded first? But also, why are they now opening it up for the moms and pops to participate? As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, this money, first and foremost, is about honoring the original intention of the Bretton Woods Agreement back in 1948. They tried to do it through governments, and the cabal basically stole the process and absconded all the money in the process that was in there. They tried to do it with President Kennedy and President Sukarno back in the 60s, and we know what happened out of that. Kennedy was assassinated. And this time, it's about using people. It's about using everyday folks to massively spread literally trillions of dollars around the planet. Why? To rehydrate the global financial system with clean money versus the fiat current money that is now in the banks around the world when that system is about ready to collapse. They're basically using people like you and me by the thousands and the thousands to spread this money in a very rapid process all around the world to basically restructure the global financial system. You've heard about that. I've been talking about that. There have been scores and scores of articles on the internet and on Facebook and on YouTube for years about our global financial system. It's only a matter of time before it collapses. Well, what do we do? Well, I'm going to talk about the plan, why they put this plan together, and why you get to be a part of it. As I said, first and foremost, it's not about getting the money, it's about giving the money. And they want to use literally thousands of people like you and me to massively spread this money around the world to humanitarian aid projects. But in the process of giving it away, you and I are going to be very rewarded very well. We will get the higher rates, but that is only going to come through the private projects process. Now, I'm calling this a humanitarian aid process. Yes, you will have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And yes, you will have to go through a security background check. And yes, you will have to go through a means of basically turning your currencies in to be able to receive the funds. That is the way all of the private projects have and are still being funded. What I found out in the last month is I've always talked about that I was aware of about 5 different private projects going on out there. And actually, there was a lot more. There was a whole lot more. But the thing was, you never heard of them. I didn't even hear of them. They were done quietly and secretly in the background. And I have said many times, the real people that are doing the funding, the real people that are doing this process, the real people that are setting the rates, they never, ever come onto the internet in the blog sites. Now, I can't tell you why. But what they have told me is I'm being allowed to open it up to everyday folks. And at this time, nobody else is being able to do that. You tell me where you know of another private project list that's going to get the very high rates that is able to come onto the internet in their everyday, process of their programs and open that up for you. Here's where you go. I mentioned it last week in the video. I mentioned it on the radio program. I just put out a newsletter a couple of days ago. You go to thesedonaconnectionfoundation.com, and in the right-hand column is what is called the Humanitarian Aid Project sign-up. All I'm doing right now is putting together a list of names. You just submit your name, your email, and your phone number, and the country that you're from. That I keep that list private. I do not send it out. I do not allow anybody else to have access to that list. It's your choice how you want to do this. I will go into much more depth on the radio program this week. I'm going to go into depth. I'm going to talk about this process, why they are doing it the way they are doing it, why they are now starting to open it up, and why they are giving you the opportunity to be involved in it. I started this process about 3 years ago, and I originally called my program Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And you want to know what? It's still there. It's still applicable. Do you really want to be a millionaire? I can tell you right now, if you want to have the highest rates, you got to go through the private project process. That's the only way you're going to get that. I have for a long time been saying, don't expect to get any 800 numbers and just walk into the bank and walk out being a multimillionaire. Well, they've kind of hid that from me for a while too. Eventually, everybody who is holding one of these currencies will be able to go into the bank and exchange. But I can tell you right now, if you walk into a bank or you walk into a processing center, you are not going to get the high rates. You just are not going to do that. The issue is not about you getting rich. The issue is using you and me and thousands of others as instruments to rehydrate the global financial system so we don't go through this huge, catastrophic global financial collapse. If the families, the dragon families, were not stepping in with these funds to do that, that is what would happen. The whole complete global financial system would go through a huge, dramatic, catastrophic collapse, and the whole world would be into a situation that would be worse than what we had experienced in the United States back in the Depression. That's what would happen. And they do not want that to happen, and they are doing this on a step-by-step process to have what I call a soft landing crash. I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about all those issues on the radio program. Now, here's what I need to say. Please, please, please do not send me emails wanting me to answer all your questions. I will take your questions. You can send me emails with your questions, but I'm going to address them on the radio program. Since I had opened this up about a couple of weeks ago, folks, I've just been swamped. I'm a one-man show. I can't handle spending 8 to 10 hours a day, day after day after day, answering emails. I just can't do that, okay? And quite often what will happen is I will get 50, 60, 70 emails all asking the same question. I can address that on the radio program. You can listen to the radio program live, or you can always listen to it archived. About 2 to 3 hours after the radio program is over, they post it on the Blog Talk Radio site. That link is always in my newsletter that I put out each week. You can go to my website. You will always have the link to that. And that program can be listened to anytime archived, and you can even download the program as an MP3 file and listen to it throughout the whole week anytime that you want to. There's going to be really good information in the program this week. It's going to make sense to you why they're doing it the way that they are doing it, why it is happening, and why it is now they have opened it up. What does that mean? That means it's extremely close, folks. They didn't want this to be opened up to the public at large because it would create so much chaos and so much frustration and so many people constantly asking questions, badgering and wanting to have answers when it wasn't time and it wasn't ready. But now it is. And they've allowed me to do that. I'm not saying that there might not be others down the road. All I know is as of now, I'm the one that is out there in the public on a regular basis that they're allowing me to say, if you want to be involved in a private exchange, if you truly want to become a multimillionaire, this is your opportunity to do that through this process. I'm just here as the messenger, so please know I'm not the one who makes the decisions. I am not the one who says yes or no or why they are doing it the way they are doing it. I'm a messenger. and I'm carrying the message of what they are sharing with me. So you're going to want to join me on the radio program, okay? Thanks a lot, folks. Have an absolutely wonderful week if you don't get to come in and join on the radio program. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, bye-bye.